Welcome to our monthly Tango Alpha Lima Be the One podcast. I'm your host, Amy Forsyth, and I'll be here on the first of each month with guests who provide expertise, resources, and peer-to-peer support as part of the American Legion Be the One initiative to prevent suicide within the veteran community. On the first day of every month, American Legion family members are encouraged to wear Be the One apparel to publicly show their commitment to reducing the stigma around mental health issues. During this episode, we discuss topics that may be troubling for some. If you or a veteran you know is in crisis, call the Veterans Crisis Line at 988 and press 1. Go to betheone.org to learn how you can be the one to save one veteran. Let's get today's conversation started.
Talking about suicide is hard, but the American Legion has joined forces with Columbia University to develop training for those who want to learn more about interacting and responding to veterans who may be in crisis. American Legion Be the One training. In the 90-minute class, you'll learn to understand the types of suicidal ideation and 4 behaviors that indicate imminent risk, how to use the Columbia Suicide Severity Rating Scale to determine at-risk individuals, how to identify risk factors and warning signs, and how to communicate effectively with individuals who may be at risk of hurting themselves. Online and in-person sessions are available. Visit betheone.org/training to find a session. Learn the skills that'll give you the confidence to talk about suicide and be the one to save just one veteran.
Hi, everyone. Today's special guest is George Eshleman. He's a Desert Storm veteran who settled in Georgia when he separated from the Army in 1993. And the story of his own struggle with suicide and how he found healing and a mission to help others while hiking the Appalachian Trail is told in the new movie coming out called The Keeper, which opens on Memorial Day. And we'd love to welcome George to the Be the One podcast. George, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here, and I appreciate you all having me on.
Oh, I watched the trailer to The Keeper. It looks really, really good. And we're really excited to hear more about your role and your involvement in the production and really, from your own experience. But before we get started, let's tell people where you grew up and how you ended up joining the Army.
I was born in New Orleans, raised in Mandeville, Louisiana. And my family's been in artillery in the military way back to Gettysburg. My great-grandfather was a major beneficiary of the Washington Artillery at Gettysburg. So I've always had military in my blood. And I went to college first and didn't do too well, a little immature. And I joined the military to get, college money like most did back then. And ended up being deployed to Saudi Arabia for Desert Storm. Spent right at 9 months in country. When I came back, I was just like any other veteran. I'm not a problem in the world. And as time goes on, you realize there is some PTSD left from memories. So that's basically where I all started.
Well, and without giving too much away about what The Keeper is about and the messages, the strong messages, but you as a veteran really sought to find a way to honor the legacy and the memory of those veterans out there. And I've known some other veterans who have chosen the Appalachian Trail to do some reflecting. And so when you came back from Desert Shield, Desert Storm, tell us, the journey you went on and what you did personally and in terms of that, and then the journey, catch us up to speed to what
Okay.
the movie is.
When I got back, again, majority of the veterans, I was real good at hiding everything for 24 years, and that obviously almost killed me. Once I had learned my friend had taken his life, something snapped, and I wasn't able to control my feelings anymore. I was still good at hiding them, but I was going down the wrong path. So for the up to 5 months while I was collecting name tapes, which are actually sitting still right here, original ones. Um, they had no idea what my plans were, and I was um, pretty dead set on taking my life on the trail. So when everything kind of came to fruition out there, um, something snapped for the better at that point, and I wasn't alone. And that was the biggest thing that I was feeling inside. With all the people I'd met prior to the trail, the families that sent me the name tapes, people on the plane that saw the name tapes, um, all that emotion that was good emotion that I should have had from the beginning, um, was now front and center, and I had no way to avoid it. Um, and just submitted to what the trail was, and what the reality of, like, be the one is, you're not alone. And once you can accept that and see it for what it is, um, it'll save your life.
Yeah, great message. We're all in this together, veterans of different eras or the future generation. And so here at the Be the One podcast, our goal is to connect people and resources um, to help those who might be on the edge or struggling with thoughts of suicide and identifying those triggers and ways to avoid that and providing some tips and tools to prevent that. But the movie coming out on Memorial Day is a story about your experience. And so, as you told this story, how did it go from your experience and to becoming a movie all these years later? What was the process and the journey for you?
Um, I'd taken all my writings in my journal and put them together into a story, and I was letting other friends and family read it. And they came up with the idea of, well, this would be good as a movie. And I was introduced to Todd Tavolazzi, the screenwriter, who's an active duty naval commander, flies Ospreys in San Diego. And he took it and kind of molded it into what it is. And we worked real close together, where he took about 90% of what's in my journal and turned it into a movie. So it was it was unique to see it happen. But yeah, to say the least, if you read the original story and you see the movie, it's night and day. It's the same premise, same message, but it's just so much more information and so much more education and reality. And it is a raw movie. I mean, when people see it, it doesn't pull punches or anything of it, from MST, military sexual trauma scenes, to it doesn't go into suicide specifically, but it portrays the message of you know what you need to do before you get to that point, where families can identify certain things and different reasonings. But most importantly, it's if someone sees the movie and they're having any doubts about getting help, um, they need to realize that the help is free. And all it takes is reaching out, and it's not weakness. It's a little embarrassing when I first started this. I was very hesitant to come out and say I got problems. Not only do I have problems, but I was foolish enough to almost take my life. So that part I got over, the embarrassed part. Once I realized there's nothing to be embarrassed about. There's a lot of people out there, and I'm not the only one. Neither are these other veterans or even civilians. That was another thing that we try to get with the movie was, it has veteran backstory, but everyone in this world goes through something, and it doesn't take much to ask somebody for help. During the filming, about 10 days into the filming, I had did what I'd always done, and I thought at that point still thought I had it under control. A lot of things built up. I saw a lot of scenes that I was reliving again, because they were so spot on with what they were doing. That Angus Benfield, the director, who's amazing, he kind of started seeing differences in me. So did other people. When I got back to the hotel, I reached out to Paul, who's our RV driver for the movie. And while I'm talking to Paul, who's a veteran, he's texting uh, Kendall Bryant, the producer of the movie, who's a Desert Storm veteran. And next thing I know, Kendall's coming out of the door. George, what's going on? And it was the reality of, wow, you're not alone. And for the next day or so, yeah, I was a little still kind of out there, but it showed it to be true. So I learned from the movie as we were filming it that this stuff really works. And I already knew it worked, but I got to use it again the second time. And it came up with a very positive, outcome for the rest of the movie. I was good, because I knew I had guys that had my six.
Well, it sounds like the film and the production crew and the writer and the producer, the director were veterans as well. So would you say this is like a veteran production for the most part?
A lot of the crew were veterans. Angus Benfield was not a veteran. However, a few people who have seen the movie, a couple of veterans, they've actually asked, is the actor playing you a veteran? Because he was able to pick up on my mannerisms during the time we were together before the film, that he was spot on everything. Even the actors that played Sophie Shampoo, which is Peanut, or Michael Blanco, Michael McLean, Andrew Ferguson, and then Nicholas Assad. These actors, which is people don't really, I didn't understand how talented these people are and the gift they have to take words and turn them into pictures. Um, but yeah, it's when they see the movie, they're going to think these people are actually soldiers. They were veterans. But yeah, there were the producer again is a veteran. The screenwriter, he's active duty, and some of the actors were, actually one fellow he was a National Guard active duty. He went to Angus and told Angus that I don't know if I can do this. I can't even get through the screenplay. It was so emotional for him, just from reading what was going on. So, yeah, it's going to touch a lot of veterans. They're going to be able to pick up on things, and realize this movie was, a veteran lived it and a veteran's telling the story. So it's not Hollywood, at all. It's a raw movie that tells the truth.
Well, what do you want people to take away once they see the film? What is your hope that they come away from it after watching it?
I believe they put the tagline on the movie, "No one walks the trail alone," and the trail is expanded. It's not just a trail that you hike; it's the trail of life. Whether you're a civilian or you're 12 or 13 years old or you're 80 years old, everyone has something going on in their life. This world spins around fast in space and things get knocked out of whack. So if people can walk away from the movie understanding that, just reach out, and that everyone, no one can handle this all by themselves. Like I said, I did it for 24 years and I was good at it, like a lot of veterans are. It doesn't mean all veterans, were at the level I was at. And even if they're at half that level, they're still halfway there to being at my level, if that makes any sense. No matter how small you think your issue or your problem is, talk about it. It's free. The VA, you can call them and go to them. It's all free care. And if you're, even a civilian, there's no one out there that's going to charge you to keep you alive. They're out there, they're willing, they're able to help, and a lot of it's confidential, so you don't have to worry about anyone else knowing about it. So uh, I hope they take away from the film. Um, you're no, be the one. It's there's someone out there. I guess that's the best way I can say it.
And so, how long did the process take from the time that the screenwriter got your materials and Todd? How long from the time he wrote it and then pitched it and then got the crew and then now we're here at the release? How long did that process take?
Roughly 5 years.
Okay.
Yep,
And was
five
it
years.
hard to pitch it to Hollywood and get the money and the funding and were you involved in that?
I know it all moved fairly quickly because people that I knew that were in the industry, a friend of mine, she was on The Walking Dead, and she said it takes a while, George. It could take a decade or more, and she says don't give up. Well, like I said, from the time Todd and I had finished up the screenplay, that Angus Benfield, who found the story on a website that directors and producers go to, um, and he picked it up. I got a call from him and Todd, and we talked, and I was looking for a specific person that I wanted to tell my story, and Angus answered a couple of questions that were just spot on. He does faith-based movies too, and this movie, people will pick that up. You know that there was, the trail has a spiritual meaning, and not necessarily a religious meaning, but it's had tens of millions of people hike this thing, so all their memories are left on the trail. So it's very helpful. They say the trail will provide, and it does. But it moved fairly rapidly, considering how long it usually takes movies to do. And raising the funds and whatnot, I had no involvement in doing that there. I just knew there were a lot of people in Hollywood that liked the film, that had said there's been other mental health movies, but none like this one, because of how the story is told. And again, Angus, he had the liberty as a director to change anything he wanted to fluff it up or whatever. He didn't. He laid right into it as almost word for word, because as actors were going through their scenes, I was wording their lines the entire thing, and that showed me that Angus and even the actors, there was nothing wrong with the film, and this was the story. But again, it was kind of surreal to watch it happen, because it was my story, but again, these name tapes, that's it was their story, so their memories, and it's hopefully I do them justice, that they're never forgotten, and they didn't take their lives in vain. That something good came out of it, if that makes any sense. Nothing good comes out of suicide, but that it wasn't a waste, that these people had, through tragedy, there is something positive that came out of something so horrible.
Well, and providing some touch points, some connections, connecting the dots in terms of nonprofit organizations like American Legion or Veterans of Foreign Wars. What do you think the value that they've put a lot of resources and allocated manpower to help with this issue of preventing veteran suicide? What more can be done from your perspective, and how can we get better and reach more people?
Um, I've always, that was a question I had back when I was hiking the trail and seeing other foundations, and they would always say we're raising money to stop veteran suicides, and I'd ask myself that question: well, you can't pay someone to not take their life. Um, all you can do is hammer home the fact that you're not alone. You have someone. We're here to help. Reach out, do that. So the American Legion does great stuff. The VFW does. The Legion, with Legion magazine, I was just reading that the other day. The article Be the One. Um, so the information that you all are putting out, uh, you can lead the horse to water, as they say, but you can't make them drink. But we're getting close to, showing the horse it's good water. You can go ahead and drink this stuff. So the messaging, it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it stays consistent. As long as it's whether any media outlet, as long as it's a consistent message, and we don't let it fall to the wayside like it did in 2016, 2017, 2018. You'd hear about veteran suicides, and then it would be gone for a couple of months, and then it'd be back on the news, and it'd be gone for a couple of months. And that really damaged a lot of veterans, that they didn't want to be the flavor of the month. In other words, they thought their problems were a lot more difficult. And why open that door if it's just a lot of lip service? So keeping the message consistent and constantly talking about it.
And what do you think today's new veterans, post 9/11 veterans and combat veterans, and this younger generation seem to be really struggling with that, especially after the pandemic and maybe isolation and social media? What message would you send to them today for our listeners out there who are on the edge, or how walking the trail really changed your life, and what can they do in their hometowns or wherever they live? What advice, what inspiration would you leave with them?
Um, I guess since I have a lot of friends that are Vietnam veterans, the Desert Storm and some OEF, OIF guys, that everyone's from a different generation and they handle things differently. The generation, the recent generation of OEF, OIF guys, is that there's, I guess, there's something called moral injury, and these guys of that generation, it's hard to understand that they could actually do some of the stuff they did. Um, but they have to realize that they're not broken. They're still as strong as ever. It takes a lot more strength to talk about it than it does to just fade away. But I would tell those guys there, don't be afraid, no matter what. If it's your wife, your mother-in-law, I mean somebody, reach out and talk to them, because you being alive is a lot better for everybody else around than people standing over going, why? It's a long-term solution to a short-term problem. And if they can grasp hold of how they were in the military, that they were strong in a sense of physical strength, mental strength, going through combat. Um, when they get out, they are so fine tuned to using those skills to stay alive. You stayed alive in the military, because you had that that not idea, but the strength, I guess, or the perseverance, you know, and they just need to transfer that outside the military. Um, the, I'd like to talk about also the active duty guys and girls that are out there. They're going to be veterans sooner or later. So getting a message like this into the active duty ranks, preparing them, because when I got out, they basically said, thank you very much, bye bye now. Um, if they would have had some sort of a transition period, weeks before I got out, just little seminars or something like that, where they could talk to the veteran and say, look, this is what you can expect. Um, and I think that would go a long way also to kind of nipping this in the butt early on, as opposed to trying to deal with the problem as it's already happened.
Okay, great. Well, folks, today our special guest is George Eshleman, and he's a Desert Storm veteran, settled in Georgia, walked the Appalachian Trail, and now has you're the role of in the movie, the keeper, not playing the role, but based on your life experience, and it opens on Memorial Day. George, what would you like to send as a message before we let you go on to your other interviews as you're promoting the movie? What message would you send to veterans out there today?
If you watch any movies this year, just please watch this one here. Take the hour and 40 minutes. It won't be a waste of your time. Uh, the Facebook page of the Keeper movie, leave comments. You can message that page. If you just want to message and say, I'm having an issue, can y'all help? I'm sure they will, without a doubt. Then the keepermovie.info, which is the website, the keepermovie.info. And then my personal page, George Eshleman on Facebook. Message me. I'm not shy. My phone number's been available for the past 7 years. It was available on the trail, and I got calls. So if I miss your phone call, trust me, I will call you back. I never ignore phone calls and messages, and I would rather have a stranger message me and may be able to help that veteran. It'd be better than anything else that I could ever ask for, winning the lottery, anything like that, because to be able to close my eyes at night going, wow, this works. These guys and girls are coming out of their shell, and they're realizing it's not that it's not scary. It's not scary. So yeah, please reach out, whether to me or the Facebook page or the crisis line or your American Legion or Veteran Foreign Wars. You got so many resources, the VA, so don't be afraid, you know, grasp for it and take it.
Well, thank you for putting this word out. Have you had a lot of response thus far as you get closer to release date?
Well, by people wanting to have the movie in theaters, and
Yeah.
quite a bit of them. The families naturally in their hometown, we're working to get them into their theaters. But if anyone has a theater in their hometown that would like to have the theater contact, or y'all can contact whoever contacts the website, leave a message. There's an email on there. Tell them what town it's in, what name of theater, and they'll get in touch with that theater and try to get into that theater where your hometown can watch it.
And we'll be sure to put those links in the podcast and in the show notes. And we're proud to help support and partner with you to get this message out. And that's our sole goal here at Be the One podcast, is to provide tips, resources, expertise, and showcase someone like you who is not afraid to get out there. And actually, now you have this movie that encapsulates this tremendous story of your service. So thank you so much for being a guest today on Be the One podcast and sharing this information with our viewers and our listeners across the board, in the American Legion and far beyond, of course. Thank you, Alphas, for tuning in to the Tango Alpha Lima Be the One podcast. Remember, you can be the one to save one veteran. Find resources and more information at betheone.org and connect with the American Legion on social media to keep the conversation going. And don't forget to subscribe to the Tango Alpha Lima podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find podcasts. And please share this with others. And we look forward to seeing you on the next edition of Be the One podcast. Thank you so much, George. We'll see you soon. Good luck with the movie.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
On the first day of every month, American Legion family members are encouraged to wear Be the One apparel to publicly show their commitment to reducing the stigma around mental health issues. Go to betheone.org to learn how you can be the one to save one veteran. If you're a veteran in crisis or concerned about one, call the Veterans Crisis Line at 988 and press 1. You're not alone. The Veterans Crisis Line is here for you, and you don't have to be enrolled in the VA. Help is available, and speak with someone today.